Herb did a good job on that article, which is,
Okay.
we help usually get some snarky remark or something, let's just put it in.
Is it good?
There's something in there. Yeah, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah, this is good.
Video or something?
You should
Rather
just see
easy.
something that has a little bit with live stream articles.
Keep it easy. Seems to be doing pretty good. Seems to be doing pretty good. What do you call it? No, I'm fine, thank you. Is this,
He has some full time on it. That's all you do is
I sometimes I've other things. I used to run the school board.
To state that.
KOD.
I killed for years. Sure. Sure. That's just about what I look at.
So I'll just leave it
There
up.
comes a time you want to do something.
Unless you was,
The mics are live.
Kill yourself.
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, I can shut it down for now until about 5 minutes.
Oh, Andy?
I'd rather not.
Good morning.
I can go get them all.
We gotta quit meeting like this.
Seems like we're meeting a little too often.
For your wife.
Oh, that was very thoughtful of you, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's the only
Very
thing the
thoughtful.
mics are live.
Well, we got a lawyer now, so this should be a big meeting, huh?
Should be a big meeting. See if we can't get his heart rate up a little bit, do some things fun.
She's been off, right?
Shane? Is it Shane?
Positive.
Just go. Okay. This was a trip we paid for in 2019. It's free.
Yeah, we did the same, that was our Panama trip. It was all the cruise.
Yeah,
We had to use.
we're going to take a look at it, and would love to try to take a look at it for sure. We are, we're swamped, but there's always room for good projects. Cool. That's
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine.
I guess during public comment, I think that's
Mine's working.
Oh.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to check with you. I don't know what the formalities are here. I'm already getting phone calls and one of the members to do some work for them. And I don't know if that's okay or not okay. I mean, it's fine with me. It's up. It's whatever you guys want to do.
I'll bring it up during.
Yeah.
Does it get you? I know you want to do it because it's approved. Not that I care. I'm sure how much you want to do it, but it should have some ground.
Yeah. However you all want to do it. You know, I don't remember. I did have a couple people call me, but I mean, it was nothing.
I know we didn't abuse it this time.
Yeah.
How others?
You know, I just went through this yesterday for the state MPO, and they had. I occasionally get phone calls from MPOs around the state asking questions.
So do you guys think we're going to actually do more with this charter review than this?
That should all
The
be.
little change an N to an N and
No, well, we did it 10 years
blah,
ago.
blah, blah, which I think that's.
I know. So where's our major changes? Where's the little changes?
It's just they have to do it every
Maybe I
time.
will just.
No, I know, but I mean, are we going to be able to create some little changes or any big changes? Probably not this time. No, I don't see any.
No, there's no
If
sense
you
to
don't,
make
if
changes.
you have somebody that's attending.
Yeah. No, I know.
For you to admit them,
I mean, the biggest thing that changed
they
this
have
time
to
was
state
10 years ago,
significant
we had system
circumstance according to the
communications.
AG's office
Right.
for not being here.
The new COVID rules or have those?
But, you know, you never know.
COVID rules are all gone.
I mean, and sometimes you go through, the first time we had so many changes that we may have missed other ones. It's like, I didn't realize that 5% of gross receipts.
Oh, I know, a
So
lot of them are,
company has a
but
lot of business that
it's,
loses money.
there's, I'm sending the AG opinion on it.
We'll discuss that after. Gross revenue.
Yeah.
But they have they been actually doing
And of
that?
course, and the good
They
news
haven't been in
is
session, it's in the
significant
charter.
circumstances, whatever
Yeah,
you
right.
decided is,
Yeah, just
it's
say
reserved
something.
your sound discretion.
Okay, me or the person making the
Well,
call?
usually it's the board as a whole that makes that decision, but your rules specify that you're the one that admits them. So the authority's basically been
It's like we're
delegated
not
to
going to
you.
set aside a site for a railroad station or anything like that.
You're not allowed to say those words, you might get tackled.
Oh, I didn't anybody was listening.
Don't say it when the mic's on.
Okay.
Yep. Hello, are we on and started? Great. Apologies for running a few minutes late there before we start, but at this time I'd like to call to order the meeting and ask that Andy lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today.
Hi.
Pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Barber. Before us, we all have a copy of the agenda. I would request a motion for approval of the agenda.
Second, Stan Reps.
Any discussion or public comment cards? Hearing none and having no cards, I'll call the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimous. Next on the agenda, we have
Shannon, I'm sorry, who made the motion originally? Oh,
apologies. Next, I would call for the approval of the minutes. If everyone's had a chance to review them, I'll ask for a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second, Eileen Davis.
Any discussion? Public comment cards? Hearing none, having none. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Next on our agenda, we have an update on outside counsel from Mr. Zeeler.
Good morning, Chairman, committee members. Happy Friday. After a successful contract negotiation following your selection, the Board of Port Commissioners approved the contract for the representation by Mr. Paul Gugelman, who's sitting here at the dais. So he will be attending all meetings, all committee meetings, and he may be tasked for research or drafting either at the direction of the chairman or a majority vote by committee members. So with that, I now welcome Mr. Gugelman aboard, and that concludes my update. If there are any questions.
Yeah, could you help us delve in and everyone understand the parameters that you stated on how we request their opinion? How do we get a majority vote if somebody's trying to get a question answered prior to another meeting? How's that process unfold under?
That's good, and also mindful your time is with the goal of June. We only have a few set meetings left, but I don't think it should be a complicated task. If a committee member has an idea they like to submit for drafting, they could either request that through you, Chairman, to task the attorney,
Okay.
or they could ask of their peers for a majority vote to vote on the matter to send it back to the office with Mr. Gugelman.
Ms. Davis, you recognize?
Okay, do we go through Melanie to go to Cole? Because I don't think we can go directly to Cole.
I think she's worried about the sunshine and.
Right, and I apologize. I was thinking that this would occur in person.
Oh, okay.
Right. If you're looking to do that,
I'm just thinking if somebody has a question that before the next meeting.
Well, I would think, and maybe in the interest of time, because we are trying to wrap this up in June, as long as we don't discuss the idea and you just send a request, then I can forward it on or not. And if I do not forward it on, then we can have a vote at the next meeting in case I'm abusing my authority, if that would work for this body.
that works. Yeah, and the goal of this process is just to keep it orderly for Mr. Gugelman, and that way he's not getting 10 emails from 10 different members on 10 different matters, also mindful of his billing.
Well, yeah,
Which is
and
the reason
Mr.
why-
Gugelman, I'd prefer if you let us know if we start treading the line or towing the line on the sunshine policy issues. No one on this board wants to run afoul of that, so.
And there are a lot of lawyers in the room. Mr. Bisline, of course, representing the actual Board of Port Commissioners. You have Mr. Langley and myself representing on the staff side. We are still here to assist, but from here on, Mr. Gugelman is probably in charge of you all.
Okay.
The problem with a lot of lawyers in the room is you get a lot of different opinions.
Well, you know what they say about opinions, so. Okay, anything further on the update?
That's all. Thank you, Chairman.
All right. Great. Next on our agenda is discussion item, removal of the 0.5% of the gross receipts of businesses/occupations at the port. Article 6, line 693 to 708. Mrs. Davis, you have the floor.
Thank you. Basically, I just would like to have that removed because, or have it on net profits. You can have a business that's, I know it's been said it hasn't been used before, but it's still in there and can be used. If a business at the port has a loss, they would still be paying 0.5% on their gross revenues, which I just don't think is fair. And we're already getting rent and everything else.
Does anyone else have any comments or, first let me get the board, then Mr. Bisline, Mr. Retz.
Stan Retz. I apologize, I'm not that familiar with the background on this. Is this part of the lease? Is it part of a percentage lease, which would not be uncommon, or is there an additional fee, like a tax that's imposed on a business?
I'm just reading what it says. The Port Authority shall have the power to impose a franchise or excise tax upon businesses and occupations carried and operated in a sum equal to 0.5% of the gross receipts of such business or occupation.
So it's not part of the lease. It's not uncommon to have a percentage lease where you have a base plus a percentage revenue. But that sounds like this is in addition to a lease arrangement, so, okay.
That was my reading.
Yes, sir.
The question I have is, it says the Port Authority shall have the power to impose a franchise or excise tax. It won't stay down. Is that better? Okay. The question I have is that franchise or excise tax currently being imposed? Because it doesn't say that they shall impose it. It says they shall have the power to impose.
I would defer to Mr. Bisline for a response on that one.
We don't have any franchise tax now, but remember, first when they have a franchise tax, first you have to have a franchise. So the Port Authority would have to grant a franchise to the company to do something in it before this would be applicable. So it's not a tax on the port tenant, on the port business.
It would be a tax, a small tax on the provider of the services that are covered by the franchise that the port grants. Port hasn't granted a franchise or a tax.
Yeah. Well, I guess, thank you for that. What I would, maybe if I can rephrase what you're asking, is this section is giving the port the authority to impose this tax, but it's not requiring that tax to be paid. It's giving the commission, the Port Authority, the elected officials, the authority to impose it or not. And presumably, if one is ever imposed, that body that it is being imposed upon can come before the commission and have a discussion or a vote on the item. Is that stating it correctly?
Because it also sounds like it's not currently being imposed.
It is not.
It's in the charter, but it's not being imposed.
So it's like having dry powder in case you need it would be the way I would read it.
We're talking about franchise. We're talking about franchise businesses, like a McDonald's or something like that?
No. We're talking about a franchise for, usually the county has, municipalities all have, they have franchise authority and they do franchise taxes. That's on some company that provides a service within a geographical area. Communications, telephones, garbage, electricity, that type of stuff.
And that's only if the Port Authority grants the franchise, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And has the port granted any franchises that we know of?
No.
Okay.
So wouldn't that be
Mrs. Roberts? Sorry.
It sounds to me like I understand what you're saying, but it also sounds to me like that is a board decision and not our decision.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Bacher.
I don't see it being a problem in there, and I don't see a reason to change it. It's a toll that could be used later in negotiations with anybody. So anytime you do a contract with the port, it's all negotiated. So I don't see it being done, so I don't see the reason to take it out.
Okay. Yes, sir, Mr. McLean.
Have we ever denied a franchise? I mean, I know we haven't granted any, but have they denied some?
Not to my knowledge.
So we may be kind of having a discussion about how many angels can dance on top of a pinhead, if it's, but Ms. Davis.
That's fine. I just want to bring it up. I don't like tax. I don't like somebody have to pay a fee when they've made no money.
I understand. And
it was the gross receipts that was my issue, not the fact that there was a fee. It was that it was on gross rather than net.
Right. Understand. Thank you for your comments and bringing it up. Any other comments on the matter? Hearing none, we will move to the next item on our agenda. Staff recommended revisions, second reading. And it looks like we are calling for public comment on the staff recommended. So if we have any cards, this giant public, how do we not have cards? Mr. Langley, you have the floor.
Good morning, Chairman, committee members. Thanks again for your time today. We are doing second reading on 2 items that were before this committee at last meeting. The first item was with respect to some changes regarding public notice within the charter. As you recall, the recommended changes were to define public notice and use it consistently throughout the charter, and then permit the use of electronic notice where that was applicable. The committee approved the recommended language presented last meeting, subject to 3 changes that were provided. The first of which was the addition of "and" in section 2. It now reads, public notice means the following methods on the Port Authority website for 2 consecutive weeks and in a manner no less than required by Florida law. The second change was actually in section B. This previously read in a manner that no less than may be required by Florida law. The second revision on approval from last meeting was to delete the may.
Does anyone have any questions on that change?
No.
The third condition of approval from last meeting was to broaden the provision on the applicable ways in Florida statutes that notice can be provided. So rather than pointing to a specific subsection of Chapter 50, the language will now read in a manner provided in the broader Chapter 50 of Florida statutes. And this change is shown in this subsection here, seen on your screen, but incorporated throughout the charter in several other sections. Okay. So having incorporated those recommended revisions to the notice provisions, we ask for your approval on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Langley. Having heard the presentation, does anyone have any comment? And if not, I'd appreciate a motion.
Ask Mr. Googleman if he has any comments.
Sure.
I don't at this time. I'd like an opportunity maybe to go back and take a second look at this. I just got my contract approved and really hadn't had time to dig into it.
So you didn't start the work on good faith, though, it was going to get approved, huh?
It seems pretty straightforward.
It does, having, heard that Mr. Googleman hasn't had a chance to review it. My question to the board would be do we want to move forward with a vote today? Because my understanding is if we pass it today, it's final. We could pass it subject to approval by outside counsel.
I'm sorry.
No.
Stan, is there any harm to table it till next meeting? It's not time sensitive.
Well,
it is not.
It's not, but we could also we could knock it off so we don't have it next if we vote on subject to approval. I saw Ms. Davis' hands and Mrs. Roberts'
I
hand.
make a motion that we approve it today.
Okay. I got a motion from Mrs. Roberts. A second from Mr. Barber. Any further commentary?
I'm assuming that's what the council's.
It was moved to approve subject to outside counsel's review.
Say that so. Okay.
Any discussion on the matter? Any public comment on the matter? Seeing neither, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. Next on our agenda, Mr. Langley, I believe you're still up.
Yes, Ms. Cornelius could not join us today, but the second item for second reading today was respect to a change in the provision of Article 4, Section 3, dealing with the Florida Foreign Trade Zone. It was simply the removal of in Brevard County language. That red line is included again in your packets, in your agenda packets.
Having just seen the minor change in the prior motion, I would probably call for a motion, again, subject to outside counsel's review.
So moved, Stan Ritz.
Robbie Roberts, second.
Thank you. Any further comment? Hearing none. Any public comment? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please state aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Next, we have public comment. Is any cards, or is, I hear we may have a special guest star? No? Okay, well, no public comment. Any commentary from the board or thoughts of the matter, or anyone want to speak?
William Shivers. The question I have is possibly for Melanie or maybe Mr. Langley. And I can't tell you the exact date, but I met with members of staff to talk about Article 17. This goes back a number of weeks ago, in a recognition that there was some work that could be done in that article related to procurement and contracts. And it was agreed upon that there was some suggested changes that staff was going to work on, and knowing that we're getting close to time, do you have an update by chance, either Mr. Langley or Melanie, about is that still progressing through so it can come before the committee?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
In fact, there's an internal staff meeting, I believe, next Monday.
Okay.
And we hope to, at the next meeting, to have draft language for the committee's consideration.
Perfect.
Thank you. And if I could request that you also provide a copy of that draft language to Mr. Gugelman prior to the meeting so that he can be advised on it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thanks. I believe I saw another hand out there. Mr. Retz.
Yeah, Stan Retz, I'd just like to publicly thank Michael and Melanie for helping straighten me out on my voting for the council. Apparently I misread the scoring and totally screwed it up. And they called me and let me know, and I fixed it and still screwed it up. And they fixed me again. So I misinterpreted the scoring. But
Well, it was tax season, so everybody let you slide on
that's
that.
why I say I'm not good at math, but people get worried when I say it.
Maybe in your occupation you shouldn't state that on the public record.
Strike that.
Still,
Right.
after 43 years. Thank you.
Right. Any further comment from the boards? Hearing none, seeing none, I will adjourn the meeting until next Friday, May 12th, 2023 at 2 p.m. I will be out of town on work travel, so I am going to attempt to call in, but I believe hold on, pulling back that adjournment, I think our yep, we had a public speaker show up just in time before the gavel hit the desk. Yeah.
Well,
Mr. Fritz, welcome. You made it just in time.
Excellent. I apologize.
You have the floor, sir.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
For the record, I'm Fritz Van Valkenburg. I'm a Port Commissioner here, District 3, where I represent. I'll be brief. First, I want to thank everybody for their service and commitment on this committee. I've never served on a charter review commission or committee, but it's tough because not only do you have the procedural and logistical part of it and working your way through that, but then you got the charter itself, which is you have to have an expanded mindset to look at it, because not only do you have to look at it from like a 25,000 foot level, but also from a granular operational perspective, to make sure that any changes that come about, do not have a negative impact on the port. Especially, this only occurs every 10 years. So I just wanted to thank you for your participation. So now the reason I'm here is I have 7 changes that I'm proposing for the charter. Most of them are not very complex and probably don't involve a lot of discussion or consideration. Now I could bring those to the board, but you all seem to be intelligent and come from varied backgrounds and experiences. What I'd like to do is I propose to bring these changes to you to review, and if there's major pushback on any of them, then I just won't proceed any further. That's how much I value your commitment and participation and consideration. And the way that this could work is Mr. Chairman, if, somebody could entertain a motion to allow these proposed changes to be on your next agenda, I would be greatly appreciative.
Yeah, what I think we would do is if you have your changes already drafted, if you will forward them to me, I will forward them to our council to review prior to the next meeting, and I will put those on our meeting agenda for the next meeting. I was just stating before the hammer fell that I'm going to be out of town next week, or next meeting, so Mrs. Hadaway will be chairing that meeting. But I should be able to attend by phone. But yes, we will place it on the agenda, and I would like the ability to have our council review them so that he's prepared to provide feedback to this body at that time.
Absolutely, and that sounds like a great plan. And I've actually had the changes here, and so I'll provide you a copy. I'll provide Melanie a copy as well. And
she's much more organized than I am, so we'd appreciate that.
Mr. Googleman, I can give him a courtesy copy as well. And Harold, too. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there.
Mr. Bacher, I saw your hand.
I'm traveling starting Monday, and I will not be at the next meeting. And I'm not sure what city I will be in, or if there is even a city where I'm at. So I'm going to try to call in, but I don't come back to the 14th, so I'm going to miss the meeting. So anything that anybody can give me, I would prefer sooner rather than later, so I have time and I can try to comment.
Just a second.
I also will not be here.
Okay, well, we may be edging down to a quorum, so we'll see if you can provide the copy to Mrs. Bradford. She'll distribute it to the entire board at once. I would again ask everyone to refrain from commenting on it as sunshine policy, but at least everyone can be reviewing it then. I heard Mr. Herman, and then I saw Andy.
I was just saying, I may have a problem being here also.
All right, Mr.
This is Andy. Do we need a motion for Fritz's proposed changes?
Well, we don't know what they are yet, so...
No motion to accept them? I mean, to review them? Nope.
He can give them to me, and I'll put them on the agenda for it. I don't think we need a motion. But given the dwindling population at the next meeting, we may want to do a quick head count to make sure that we can host the next meeting. Mr. Bacher is going to be uncertain. Mrs. Davis?
I'll be here.
Mrs. Roberts is uncertain.
I'll be in Budapest.
Yeah, it's pretty certain you won't be here, and it'll probably be pretty late then at 2 p.m. our time.
Georgia?
So maybe 2 out. I'm traveling, not sure if I'll be able to attend. So we got 3 uncertains.
It is the 12th.
Yes, sir.
I will not be here.
4, Mr.
I should be here.
I won't be here, yes.
You will. Okay, so 4 out of... Robin should be here. I can't. She will be. Okay. So I think we still have the quorum. So we will plan to proceed. And those of us that are traveling and can call in, please do so. Anything further?
I actually have copies for everyone if they wanted to just see what I will,
Paper, electronic, we'll take it any way you can get it to us.
Absolutely, and if Mr. Googleman wants, make some changes and it looks a little different, I'm totally fine with that myself, but at least you'll get the gist of it, and it has the rationale why I'm...
Right, we'll see your change, suggested or requested changes and review them, and if Mr. Googleman has any changes to those, we'll review both in context, so thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Great.
Everyone, yeah, thank you.
So,
Starting to have something to stick our teeth into,
All right. All of that said, at this point, having...
I have one point of clarification so I understand the protocols. So if we get a copy of these suggested changes, I understand we're not to comment to each other because of sunshine. If we do have a specific question, are we then allowed between now and the next meeting to reach out to Mr. Googleman for potential clarification, or do we need to wait until we convene again as a body?
What's the pleasure of the board, being mindful of the budget and Mr. Googleman's time? I'll state my preference. I would prefer to have, if there's specific questions, to allow the board to ask those directly to council with I'm not going to say it's a warning, but with all of us being cognizant of the time and expense and not being abusive of the privilege. Is that okay with everyone? We'll proceed under that policy for now, and if it's abused, we'll revisit this board. Okay. Any further comments?
I do have a question. Since I won't be here, and perhaps I don't like some of the changes, can I email my thing to Melody, or what do I do?
I would suggest emailing them to Mrs. This is subject to council's approval, but my suggestion would be emailing it to Mrs. Bradford, and they can be read into the record at the hearing, if that works, Mr. Gugelman. Okay.
And what is an email for Paul?
I'm sorry?
What's Paul's email, if we want to email?
He will give that all to us after the meeting, or Mrs. Bradford can forward his contact information. But again, please be mindful not to email that to everyone. Just email your objections, if any, directly to Mrs. Bradford.
Yeah, maybe not.
No, great.
Maybe a capitalization.
Any comments you have, whether they're objections or not, please email those to Melanie and she'll read them into the record.
Mr. Chairman, I will get my telephone and email information to Ms. Bradford. She can get it out to all of you. And if you need to call, I'm always available.
Okay, thank you. All right. Final call for anything further. Seeing none, at this time I'd adjourn the meeting, and everyone have a great weekend.
Have a safe trip.
Thank you.
North Georgia. Wow, what a place.
It's a free.